Founded in London in 1888 and open to women and men, the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn entirely reshaped Western occultism. Its primary goal was advancing humans' philosophical, spiritual, and psychic development, or as set in self-initiation into the Golden Dawn, quote, to undertake consciously and deliberately that which was ordained as the birthright to all humanity, to become more than human, unquote. Being a complex synthesis of approaches, the Golden Dawn was created by Freemasons, Kabbalists, and Rosicrucians. Before getting into them, consider subscribing to my channel and newsletter if you find the content valuable and entertaining. Check my books such as my products on Gumroad and Etsy. Also, feel free to support me using the provided in the description links. By supporting me, you also help my work, keeping me improving and growing as a creator. Founders. The Golden Dawn was created by three men, William Wynne Westcott, Samuel Liddell MacGregor Matters, and William Robert Woodman. William Wynne Westcott. Being a prominent researcher, Westcott was the leading figure in founding the Golden Dawn. Heavily involved as a Freemason and Rosicrucian, he was also crown coroner with a medical degree and the founder of the Theosophical Lodge at Delphi in London. Westcott held the position of Supreme Magus in Societas Rosicruciana Anglia SRIA. The last is a Rosicrucian society strictly for Master Masons, the highest Masonic degree. A genuine Renaissance person, Westcott contributed to building the Golden Dawn in various ways, and that included translating ancient magical texts that eventually became the whole system's basis. William Robert Woodman. Highly versed in the craft of Freemasonry, Woodman contributed with a deep understanding of esotericism, mysticism, and ceremonial magic. And this is important as the Golden Dawn inherited much of its structure and hierarchy from Freemasonry. Along with this, he also had a medical background and was quite of a polymath considering his fascination with gardening. According to some sources, Woodman's medical knowledge contributed to the emphasis on developing the aspirant's spiritual health and well-being. Woodman also held the title of Supreme Magus in SRIA, and before his death he left a letter announcing Westcott as his successor. Samuel Liddell MacGregor Matters. Being very proficient in Latin and Hebrew, MacGregor Matters played a crucial role as a chief adept and translator and compiler. An example of his work was translating the Book of Abramelin the Mage. Arguably the most prominent grimoire on obtaining knowledge and conversation, the same became a central text to the Golden Dawn. Besides that, Matters was responsible for the Order's curriculum, including techniques, ceremonies, etc. As discussed later, he adapted and integrated elements from already existing approaches, and that, according to many, is precisely what makes the system so ingenious and powerful. Names. When founded, the Golden Dawn was initially referred to as the Esoteric Order of the Golden Dawn, Hermetic Students of the Golden Dawn, and Hermetic Society of the Golden Dawn. It is said that Israel regarded its publications on the Tree of Life, such as the Order's teachings and practices, popularized the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn name. On the contrary, there are now active temples using older names, and an example is the Arrakis temple in Ireland called the Hermetic Society of the Golden Dawn. Original members. Some of Golden Dawn's original members included Florence Farr, Alistair Crowley, Moina Matters, Arthur Macken, Evelyn Underhill, Arthur Waite, William Butler Yeats, and others. The Alpha and Omega also had Dion Fortune and her teacher, Maya Curtis Webb. And later, the Order and his practices also fascinated rock stars like Jimmy Page. School, not religion. Though using religious concepts and imagery, the Golden Dawn system is not a religion. Instead, these are mostly metaphors and symbols for characteristics and forces in one's life. Given that Golden Dawn orders function like schools, in such schools students master different occult sciences, Western philosophy, alchemy, and different forms of magic. Studying the Golden Dawn. Theory. Studying the Golden Dawn has two main aspects. The first is memorizing and grasping the language of magic, being the one the subconscious understands, that is symbolism and correspondences, namely how they attribute to the Kabbalistic Tree of Life, the central schema of the Golden Dawn and the whole Western tradition, or at least 95% of it. Hermetic Qabalah. Dion Fortune, one of the most influential occultists, views the Tree of Life as the best symbol to meditate on. And the reason is that the same is the backbone of most Western magic, conveying the ageless wisdom of the West, and apparently the Golden Dawn system is the epitome of that. Besides displaying how the universe manifests, the Tree of Life is also a diagram of the human being and God, It is a map of the human soul reflecting the divine. Paths and Sephiroth. Generally, the Sephiroth are states of consciousness ruling specific forces within and around you. The paths are transitions from one to another. Also generally, the Sephiroth are mystical, whereas the paths are practical. And the second also attribute to the letters of the Hebrew alphabet, the elements of ancient philosophy, the zodiacal signs, the planets of the ancients, and the 22 major arcana. Speaking of that, within the Golden Dawn system, the tarot becomes much more active as it's used for pathworking, obtaining information, consecration, and even ritual work. The hierarchy of the tarot also follows the formula of the 4 Kabbalistic worlds and Yod-Heh Vav-Heh, the symbol of the ineffable name of God. Going top to bottom, this also is the formula of all practical magic as discussed in my Magickal Qabalah book review. Traditionally, Golden Dawn practitioners use the Golden Dawn deck. On the other hand, Sandra Tabata and Chick Cicero also recognized the BOTA and thought decks as suitable. For those wanting the best books on the Sephiroth, the paths, and all correspondences, I suggest Magickal Qabalah, Garden of Pomegranates, and 777, and if these are too difficult, check the books of One Mile Duquette. Studying the Golden Dawn. Practice. The second and more critical part of studying the Golden Dawn is utilizing the theory and correspondences in different workings and rites. Like everything worth doing, the Golden Dawn system demands practicing and consistency. This increases the ability to induce spiritual and mystical experiences while gradually achieving illumination of how the theory applies and can be utilized in one's life. It also lets one progress through the grades and, most importantly, it teaches them to invoke, tolerate, and direct magical forces. Besides its operations, the Golden Dawn bases its grades on the Tree of Life, meaning each corresponds to a Sephira. The Tree of Life, as my viewers know, has its roots in the heavens, and by walking the path of return, or the way of remembering, the student gets in touch with higher and more ethereal realms of existence. After transitioning from Neophyte 0 equals 0 to Zelator 1 equals 10, the aspirant ascends on the tree diagram. The first number represents the stage of development, the second, the actual Sephira. In the case of 1 equals 10, that's like being a first grader and the lowest Sephira Malkut. Outer Order. The Golden Dawn was in fact an outer order of the inner order Rosae Rubeae et Aureae Crucis. It encompasses the so-called elemental grades 1 equals 10 Zelator, 2 equals 9 Theoricus, 3 equals 8 Philosophus, and 4 equals 7 Practicus. Also referred to as the outer order grades, these correspond to the 4 elements. The idea is to balance each in one's psyche and life so the person becomes suitable for working with more subtle and powerful currents. Each of these grades is associated with peculiar changes and ordeals, and during each the student constructs the appropriate magical weapon, pentacle, dagger, cup, and wand, studies the knowledge lecture, and actively invokes the force in a maximally sterile environment. They are also exposed to one of the elemental tablets, but more on that later. Elemental grades. 1 equals 10 relates to earth and therefore everything material. Going through it may result in a situation where not taking care of your health, physical appearance, and financial stability is no longer an option. The 2 equals 9 lets usually suppressed magical powers to start flowing. On the contrary, it can also make one aggressive and overacting as it triggers specific aspects of the animal soul nefesh, and the reason is that all this attributes to Yesod, which is the 9th Sephira. The 3 equals 8 can alter relationships and communication, although that's the sphere of thought and the intellect. The Golden Dawn scholar Nick Farrell explains this with the degree, emphasizing the watery side. Attributing to fire, the 4 equals 7 can bring repressed anger, such as radical change in one's direction and approach to magic and life. Inner Order. After the elemental grades, the aspirant reaches Tiferet and 5 equals 6. This unites the supposedly balanced human being with their holy guardian angel. It is also when the magician is accepted in the inner order. Being 5 equals 6, the magician is considered to have accomplished a great work as the subject and object of desire are now one. Based on my research, Regardi believed there was no use in getting beyond that stage, and this opinion is somewhat shared by Donald Michael Craig and the contemporary Themian echoes. Secret Chiefs. The highest in the Golden Dawn hierarchy are the Secret Chiefs. Usually no longer alive, it is said that these entities reach the grades of the supernal triad, particularly Chokmah and Keter. Not having physical form, the Secret Chiefs act on the material world through the higher adepts. They are also the only ones they communicate with. and to learn more about that, watch my egregores book review and perhaps even get the book. You won't regret it. Types of magic and the Golden Dawn. Generally, all magic can be classified under two types. Called thaumaturgy or miracle working, the first is usually done in service of others. Often, thaumaturgy is performed by clerics and others. It is also referred to as wall magic. The word theurgy was used by 2nd century Platonists to define the transformative power of various techniques. It means divine action or God working focused on one's own advancement. Also regarded as high magic, the Golden Dawn system falls into the category of theurgy. Hence, Golden Dawn practitioners are theurgists, and according to Iamblichus, practicing theurgy is the way to assist and liberate your soul, reaching the highest divinity. Golden Dawn magic. Like science explores different fields, Golden Dawn magic explores the relationship between humanity and divinity. It aims to bring the true inner self hidden underneath false notions and programming. And as written in Golden Dawn magic, quote, "In truth, magic is a spiritual science. At its core, Golden Dawn magic explores the fundamental working relationship between humanity and divinity. It expresses fundamental knowledge of the true human self that lies beneath the illusion of the outer secular human. That inner self that is inextricably linked with the sacred source of ultimate unity." Unquote. For those searching for commonalities between systems, I offer to explore the fourth-way concept of essence and personality. Method and techniques. As mentioned, the Golden Dawn uses different approaches, only some of which are original. Instead, its power comes from successfully incorporating existing traditions and techniques and mapping them to the Tree of Life. Golden Dawn magic employs its remarkable pentagram formula to work with elemental and zodiacal influences. For planetary forces, it uses its lesser and supreme hexagram rituals. And to learn more about the difference between lesser and greater or supreme, check my videos and cheat sheet on the fields of operation. Golden Dawn pentagrams invoke by moving toward and banish from where the element is attributed. Exceptions are the spirit active and passive pentagrams, which I address in my SRP video, also in the cheat sheet on the ritual. Golden Dawn Earth hexagrams start at the point of the planet and go clockwise to invoke and counterclockwise to banish. The exception is the Golden Dawn Sun hexagram, which basically uses all others one after another. The planetary elemental hexagrams begin their first triangle at the angle attributed to the planet and proceed with the second, commencing at the complementary or opposite point of the same planet. They also invoke by going clockwise and banish by moving counterclockwise. There are also Golden Dawn elemental hexagrams, which I address in my LRH video. Magickal Circle. The Golden Dawn utilizes the winds and the zodiac models for its pentagram and hexagram rituals. The first places air in the east, fire in the south, water in the west, and earth in the north. The second puts fire in the east, earth in the south, air in the west, and water in the north. According to Regardis the Golden Dawn, this makes the elements vibrate between their position in the physical and astral and subjective and objective. It also forms some of an infinity shape in the circle if you think about it. The signature Golden Dawn technique. If you search the internet, you'll find that the banishing form of the lesser pentagram ritual is considered the most signature Golden Dawn technique, with the middle pillar and the rose cross as second and third. On the contrary, Golden Dawn magic is a unique fusion of approaches. I'd say that if it was a human, it would have been a mighty polymath, and in my humble opinion, this is best expressed in the Supreme Invoking Pentagram ritual. Serving as the basis for Regardis Watchtower ritual, SRP was used for all operations of the Golden Dawn. Besides zodiac signs and Egyptian god forms, SRP incorporates both Hebrew and Enochian names, which, based on my experience, turns it into something completely different. And part of my hypothesis is that it not only touches the world of Braya, but also more directly impacts the world of action and your psyche. On the contrary, that could be more of a placebo effect, since the Ciceros say it works mainly on the worlds of ideas and formation. I'd also say SRP is crucial for soul practitioners, not just because it will introduce them to the elements, like basically nothing else, but because it can show them tangibly what to expect from magic. Let me know if you agree. And to learn how to perform SRP, I suggest my content and dedicated cheat sheet. And besides those, I suggest the Cicero's Golden Dawn magic. Criticism. Based on my research, there are several main criticisms of the Golden Dawn system. The first comes from Israel Regardi, who made conveying the system to future generations his mission. As evident in his one-year manual, Regardie believed that the elemental grades are basically a cookie-cutter approach unsuitable for everyone. Being versed in psychology, Regardie knew each individual has different deficiencies, disbalances, and problems, so each journey is unique and everyone deserves a more individualized approach, just like traditional school is not for everyone. Regardie also invented his Watchtower ritual to produce results similar to going through the elemental grades. Nonetheless, he didn't believe that can replace an actual initiation. Working with all tablets OBW brings the four forces in balance, and that can be more beneficial for certain people. AA and the Angel. Perhaps Crowley viewed things similarly as he rearranged the entire first order when creating AA, so the student works with elements and planets much earlier. Traditionally, the Golden Dawn considers there's no contact with the Angel before 5 = 6, yet Crowley reveals that is not the case, and in fact, often, people of art communicate with theirs through their work. Elements in the circle. Another criticism of the Golden Dawn is regarding the positioning of the elements in a magical circle, especially the winds model. Dealing with a pentagram that is supposed to express how the individual perceives the elements, which is subjective. According to some, this must also be applied to the hexagrams, and a similar adjustment is advocated by James Eshelman and David Shoemaker, but regarding the winds model. For more, check Living Telima, Pearls of Wisdom, and Jeff Rhodes's Hermetic Qabalah. Secret Chiefs. As found in Mark Stavish's egregores, it is not excluded for high adepts to speculate with the concept of the secret chiefs controlling and dominating people in a way similar to those of the worst sects. Enochian. Also widespread criticism comes from deep purists, namely that the Enochian material in the Golden Dawn doesn't match John Dee's original attributions and needs to be completed. Also that the placement of the tablets isn't correct, the pronunciation of the language is made unnecessarily more sophisticated, and the flashing colors weren't used by Dee. In defense, some Golden Dawn scholars explain that this approach is different, not incorrect. Others add that the colors help exert more power. Odeon. This refers to people claiming Golden Dawn rituals are quote-unquote Odeon technology for occultniks. Despite my interest in LHP philosophy, I suggest such people to do the different forms of SRP for extended periods without banishing. Also to test things firsthand and see if the traditional or original SRP and OBW are the same as the Telemic GRP and the weekend opening by Watchtower. Influence and legacy. Whatever the case, the Golden Dawn remains the system most impacting culture. It is virtually impossible to find an organization or practitioners in both US and Europe that do not employ Golden Dawn techniques. Original and modified version of the Golden Dawn exercises are adopted by traditional practitioners, New Agers, Chaos Magicians, and even LHP followers. It's undeniable. Examples include Donald Tyson's portable magic, such as J. Alan Moore's synthesis between the Watchtower and the Supreme Pentagram rituals. Yet, the most evident example is Donald Michael Craig's best-selling Modern Magic, which, although quite eclectic, is heavily Golden Dawn based and was even adopted by certain lodges, based on my research. Whether you agree with everything written in it, Modern Magic is the most selling occult book on Amazon, rivaling Regardie's The Golden Dawn, and that probably says a lot. Also think of Wicca and Telema. Except for Crowley's inventions, these systems are mainly simplified Golden Dawn techniques. Another example is the middle pillar, utilized as an effective tool for combating anxiety, also as a replacement for the more traditional and extensive vortex when charging objects. In my humble opinion, the term Odeon technology has mostly to do with a dogmatic and rigid state of mind, and not with a particular technique or a system. It is your responsibility to get the best results out of a system, even if that means tweaking it. And as the Ciceros say, there is no one true way. And as Donald Michael Craig suggests, paraphrasing, approach the system and rituals generally like a chaos magician. Plus, the Golden Dawn techniques have so much to offer. If one cannot get their probability shifts, then it's probably them, not the system. As evident on the internet, the Golden Dawn remains the most influential system. Based on my observations, the interest in it only grows, and I think that's for a good reason. But that's just my opinion. Let me know what yours is, such as your thoughts on the Golden Dawn. Otherwise, like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to the channel and my newsletter for more content. Consider checking my digital products, music and books. Support me with either of the links in the description, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you for your time.